Hello, I am Michael Marsh. Welcome to the program dedicated to reestablishing our constitutional republic. And with me today is Mark Callahan, who is running for Congress. In order to reestablish our constitutional republic, we need people in office that actually believe in the Constitution. And I want you to be able to judge for yourself if Mark qualifies. And every now and then, my co-host, Camo, might make an appearance. Sometimes she does, sometimes she just lays there. We'll see. So, Mark, you must be a threat to the system because they've started bringing up your past.
Well, I'm going to stick with the issues, is basically what I'm going to do. So, my past is my past, and if they choose to go low in terms of attacking me, and I'm just going to stick with the issues because I think that's what voters here in Oregon's 5th congressional district are concerned about, is the issues and basically how are we going to help them. My whole job in being in Congress is how am I going to help my constituents, and yes, I do stand for honor and integrity and character. I do represent those. It's how I was raised. I'm an Eagle Scout myself. And so I think that if we don't stick with the issues, then people are just going to basically tune out. They're going to consider it white noise. I mean, right now we're seeing the Republican governor candidate and the current incumbent governor candidate pretty much going at each other's throats on television with basically back-to-back TV commercials. I see that every night. And some of them I think are just, I know the incumbent is lying. In the governor's race, the incumbent is lying because she is just not telling the truth about the Republican candidate, Newt Buehler. But basically, I think if we just stick with the issues, I got word today that there was a letter written by some people, the House, and Schrader actually signed it. My opponent, Schrader, I'm running for Congress in Oregon's 5th district and against Kurt Schrader. And there was a letter signed today, today being the 19th or the 20th of September, basically, I guess, making it harder for Pelosi to become Speaker again. Well, I mean, they can do all the fancy tricks they want, but I mean, and granted, Kurt Schrader does vote in line with Nancy Pelosi, and I think that's why he's doing it. So that's the reaction, I think, is what it is. So.
What do you think about the concept itself? His motives probably aren't pure, but the concept of having the whole House vote on the Speaker instead of just the individual caucuses.
I think we need to actually have that done because if the Speaker of the House represents the whole House. I mean, granted, they're the ones that determine what legislation actually goes up for a vote, yes, but I mean, and you can pretty much determine whether, I doubt any right-minded Republican is going to vote for Pelosi if she was going up for Speaker of the House. But I mean, the point is, I think if you're going to have a representative system of government like we do have here in the United States, that representation or that representative system needs to basically translate to one of our branches of government that is supposed to be representing us, but unfortunately parts of our Oregon delegation don't represent us. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for Congress, to replace one of those in the Oregon delegation. So,
speaking of representative form of government, one thing about whether you love him or hate him, one thing about the election of Donald Trump is his election brought to light that there is a deep state.
Oh, yeah.
And the deep state does not necessarily have our best interests at heart. Okay. Do you see the deep state as a threat to our republic or a benefit?
I think so. I mean, I've had friends that have gone up for security clearances before, and they have told me that one of the questions on their security clearance form is, have you ever participated in an attempt to overthrow the government? And obviously they answer no to those, but the point is, I mean, the deep state is an attempt to overthrow the government. A deep state is sedition, and it's attempt to overthrow the government. And I was reading online here, Project Veritas basically did one of those hidden videos again.
Yeah.
And they actually interviewed a guy I believe it was in the State Department, where he spends his working hours and uses work computers to actually do stuff that's anti-Donald Trump and anti-Trump's administration. And if it was my opinion, that guy should be gone. He should be fired. But he gets away with it because he thinks, oh, well, he's federal union, you know, they can't be fired. Well, I think, as I said last time in our last segment, I think there's a lot of people in the government that need to be fired. And knowing Donald Trump, I mean, he came from The Apprentice show, where that's pretty much his trademark words, you're fired, you know, and I think he needs to get in there and start doing that in terms of firing those that are attempting to literally overthrow the government by being part of that deep state.
Now, and I've noticed this for a lot of years, you know, the government will do something like when the ATF got caught providing quote, assault weapon, but anyway, high-powered semi-automatics to Mexican drug cartels. Mm-hmm. No one went to jail, no one got fired. There's really no accountability in the federal government. Do we need to change some laws like civil service laws or anything?
Well, I think so. As I said, I mean, I think right now it's kind of going on the honor system. And I know for certain security clearances, there's polygraphs involved and stuff like that. The SCI clearance, I think is what it is. But the point is, I think we need to vet our own federal employees more in terms of them not being part of this deep state, in terms of them attempting to overthrow the government. I mean, Donald Trump was elected. Yes, we have a system of election in this country that is for the president that's based upon the Electoral College. The other side basically moans and groans and complains for the past 18 months saying, oh no, we got more votes. Well, I mean, that's not how we do it here for the presidency. We do it for the Electoral College. Donald Trump got the more electoral votes in the Electoral College, and he is president right now, and that's just the way it works in our country, and that's the way it's defined in our Constitution. I mean, I said I carry this around, reference it frequently. It's my original copy. It's the cover's kind of come off it. I know people over the years have kind of sent me some new ones, and they said, Mark, you got to get a new Constitution. Well, I like my original one, but the point is, I think there's a lot of people out there, Michael, that aren't familiar with what the Constitution is, what it stands for, and there's some out there that actually want to rewrite it. Yeah. And there is a certain process for doing that defined in the Constitution, yes. But and there's a certain amendment process that's defined within the Constitution. But I think that in order to come together as a country, in order to be one team, one country, and we need to stop this bickering in terms of the other side being sore losers. That's what it basically boils down to. I don't sugarcoat things myself. I call it as I see it. I'm a pretty direct guy. I have a lot of similarities to Donald Trump in terms of that respect, being direct and not sugarcoating things. And that's why I want to get back there and help him. He needs a lot of help. He's under a lot of attack. Him and his family are under a lot of attack. Anybody that he wants to help him, like, for example, he appointed Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. We see the circus that's been going on back there regarding the Kavanaugh hearings, and now the other side is basically pulling anything out that they can in terms of delaying the process, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, we have a system of government that is defined by our Constitution, and this is what we need to follow. This is the instruction manual.
Now, speaking of Judge Kavanaugh, I mean, there is a really bitter struggle going on. Now, Hamilton in the Federalist Papers wrote that the judicial branch of the federal government would be the least dangerous because they didn't have the power to impose their will on the American people. Now, obviously, that has changed. So, there shouldn't be this bitter struggle to try to get someone on the Supreme Court if they were job properly, upholding the Constitution. What would you do to, or should you do anything to bring the courts back into the way it's supposed to be?
Well, our founding fathers specifically made our government 3 branches of government, separate but equal branches of government. So, and each branch of government does provide a check on the other branches. The legislative branch makes the laws, which is the Congress and the Senate. The executive branch, which is the presidency, enforces the laws. And the judicial branch basically determines whether the laws are constitutional. So the executive branch appoints people to the Supreme Court, the judicial branch, and the judicial branch checks the Congress or the legislative branch to make sure the laws that are passed are constitutional. And then the president checks the legislative branch as well when he signs the law into effect. So it's a great system of government. I think what we need to do in terms of, I'm kind of a simple guy myself. I think about things simply. I think about things directly. And granted, it is good to have the vetting, yes, but vetting that's respectful and vetting that's civil, as opposed to vetting that's down in the mud and basically accusing people of things and basically finding them guilty without due process. That's just not what our country is about. That's just not what our laws, and that's just not what our Constitution is about. By finding people guilty without due process, by finding people guilty by association, and as you stated, I mean, this has been corrupted or changed over the years. You said changed, I say corrupted. But this has been changed over the years in the respect that where is the civility? Where is the civility, honestly? Where is the fact, how can we, I mean, people are watching this. It's like some big reality TV show. You know, people, I get enough of reality TV myself. I personally just turn it off. But I mean, the point is, our government should not be a reality TV show. Our government should be by, for, and of the people is what it should be.
Now, you meant Donald Trump is why we have an electoral college. But there is a move by the Democrats, it's been going on for a while. They want to do away with the electoral college and go to what they call a popular vote.
National popular vote, yeah.
Okay, where do you stand on that?
I'm against it. I personally, I think that we need to have an electoral college. I mean, it's worked for the Democrats in the past. It's worked for the Republicans with Trump and other presidents in the past. And it really depends on, I guess, who is the president or who is the majority in Congress on who's going to like it and who's not going to like it. And so I think that, I mean, the standard bearers of the day in terms of who likes and who does not like it change. I mean, it's like a big pendulum. You know, about every 8 years, every 4 to 8 years, the pendulum swings back. You know, for 8 years prior to Trump, the guy prior to Trump that was in there, he did things his way, and unfortunately, he didn't do things right. I won't name him because I don't like him. But I mean, the point is, the pendulum has swung back to the right side, and Trump's in there. He's doing the best he can. He's actually following up on a lot of his promises. You don't actually hear that in the media, but I have a list of everything that he's accomplished compared to what he promised on the campaign trail. That list is pretty much about even, and it's a great thing because we don't see politicians out there following up on their promises that they actually see on the campaign trail. So
yeah, I feel a lot better about voting for Trump now than I did when I actually voted for him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't worried about, was he for real?
Exactly, exactly.
So one of the issues, if the Democrats get it back into power, the second thing they'll try to do is impeach President Trump. Do you think that's what they're going to try to do, and where will you?
Oh, I know that's what they're going to try to do. I mean, if they can get a majority and they can get Pelosi back in there as Speaker or some other left-wing nut in there as Speaker, then they're going to pull that. I cross my fingers here. I hope that they don't get majority, and I'm one vote, and I'm doing the best I can to get in there to be that one person that's not going to allow a majority. So if we end up with Democrats having their 218 for the majority, and I don't get in there, then I gave it my best shot, and I know the Lord's guiding me on it, and I know I'm doing the best I can with the resources I have, and I'm just going to give it my best shot. I got a really good chance this year because of the name recognition from the previous race. I ran for U.S. Senate in 2016 against the other not so conservative senator, Ron Wyden, has been in there for about 37 years, but I got about 651,000 votes statewide, and I took a look at the numbers, and the numbers are there in the 5th district in terms of being able to beat the current incumbent, Kurt Schrader.
Yeah. Well, if they didn't feel you were a threat, they wouldn't have brought up your past.
Yeah, exactly.
Relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, one thing you have going for them, I tell people that if my ex loved me half as much as Camo does, we'd still be together.
Yeah.
And
well, I am married again. I have a beautiful wife. Her name is Nicole.
Yeah.
I've been married for going on a year and a half, 2 years now, and she's great. I still talk to my kids too, and my kids are teenagers. Heather and Sarah, they're 14 and 15 years old, and I think they're past the stage almost of the dad is uncool, but I talk to them, and they're great kids, and they're starting to come around. They're starting to realize that, yeah, what they're learning in school is indoctrination, and it's liberal indoctrination, and they come to me and they say, Dad, this is right. In fact, I'll tell you a story here. My youngest daughter was asked to interview someone that had personal experience with 9/11. And on 9/11, I was actually in Washington, D.C. For 9/11. And I saw the smoke coming up from the Pentagon when I was there, and it was like a normal day. Yeah. And we had our the TV going on in the conference room, and first part I thought was that the first plane hit the towers up there in New York, and I thought, this is some drunk guy in a Cessna. Come on. Some drunk guy in a Cessna. Well, it turned out it was not a drunk guy in a Cessna, it was an actual plane. Then the second one hit, and then from kind of the not so far off distance, we heard a boom, and the Pentagon was hit. And then we heard that a plane went down in Shanksville. And it was a terrible, scary day. Terrible, scary day. There's one main road out of, or there is a main road. There's other main roads, but the main road we were on going out of D.C., I was in the back of my boss's car. Took about 4 hours to go up Connecticut Avenue that day. And I was frantically trying to call my parents and my family back here in Oregon. And, couldn't get through because the cell towers were down in New York and pretty much destroyed the whole network for a while, and oh gosh, it was a scary day. So.
Not bad.
But anyway, my daughter was asked to interview someone for one of her classes and write up a little paragraph on my experience in terms of what I experienced during 9/11. And it's not what you hear about in schools, because in the paragraph I literally used the words radical Islamic terrorism. Oh. And I thought that would probably be edited out by the teacher or marked out. I'll have to talk to my daughter about it today. But yeah, I don't sugarcoat things. That's just who I am. That's 9/11 was radical Islamic terrorism, and that's what it was. So.
Speaking of education, Betsy DeVos is doing a good job as far as, making it so that parents have a wider choice rather than just the government schools. Mm-hmm. Is she doing enough? What would you do to improve the education?
Well, I believe in school choice is what I believe in. I believe in vouchers. I believe in homeschooling. I think it's a great experience. I think it's the parents' job to ultimately educate their child, not the government's job. So I think as long as we have school choice available in terms of different ways of educating kids, I know that kids learn in different ways as well. I'm more of kind of a visual learner myself, and so I like to see things and do and hands-on type of stuff. I'm an IT guy by trade, so I've been doing that for computer work for about 18 years, kind of hands-on type stuff. But I know kids learn in different ways. There's no one cookie-cutter approach. And so I think as long as we have school choice, in terms of allowing kids to learn in different ways, I think we're going to be good. So.
Okay. Now, they haven't been talking about it too much, although there's been a couple of shootings in the news today.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be expected to be an issue that comes up.
Yeah, you're talking about the one at Rite Aid, or the Rite Aid distribution center? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Second Amendment's going to be under attack again.
Yep.
So, if you're elected, I noticed during the primary, Schrader was saying he favors, quote, common sense, gun control, unquote.
Yeah.
Where are you at on gun control?
Well, I mean, our existing politicians, including my opponent, like to sugarcoat things. And they don't. They say it in such a way where it's not defined. It could mean anything. It's totally subjective. Give you an example. The other day, I was at a Rotary Club meeting, and I was given the opportunity to talk about my campaign, my candidacy. And someone asked a question about, what are you going to do about assault rifles or assault weapons? And I said, well, you got to kind of look at those terms. What is an assault weapon? First of all, in my opinion, the word assault is a verb, not an adjective. And so you got to use it as a verb, not an adjective. Hey, Chemo.
Yeah, I told you she might make an appearance.
Anyway, so the word assault is a verb, not an adjective. So, and when you use it as an adjective incorrectly, it's completely subjective. Same thing goes with common sense gun laws. It's completely subjective. It can mean anything. But the point is, I'm for the Second Amendment myself. I believe shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. Guns are tools, in my opinion. They're tools to protect life. They're tools to protect our property. They're tools to protect our country from a tyrannical government. And that's basically what the Second Amendment means to me. I mean, I've been rated with an AQ rating from the NRA, which is the highest rating I can get as a non-incumbent. And I've been rated with a B+ rating with OFF, Oregon Firearms Federation, B+ rating, which is the highest rating they can give a non-incumbent. So I believe in the Second Amendment. I think that when someone says common sense gun control, you should ask them to define it. Define it in specific terms, not these broad, nebulous terms. So
when they say it to me, first thing comes to my mind, oh, so you want to break down our doors in the middle of the night and take our gun?
Yeah. I know that IP 43 and RP 44, which is not going to be voted on, thank gosh. I know that they had the words assault weapon in there. Even the Oregon Supreme Court said that's too politically charged, so they wouldn't let it on the ballot. So,
yeah, they also the other one wanted to register all guns.
Exactly.
The one you just mentioned, they wanted to
mandate how they're stored, I think, too. Yeah.
They wanted all semi-automatics to be turned over to the state police. I think probably one of the judges said, what happens if nobody turns in their gun?
Well, there's a common phrase out there, I think it's Molan Labe or Molan Labe, where it's come and get it, because, I mean,
yeah.
Oregonians and Americans just in general across this great nation of ours are not going to allow that, so.
Yeah. I think Kevin wants to know your stand on animal rights.
Oh, animal rights? Well, I got a couple animals myself, and I love dogs. And my wife likes dogs. My daughters have a couple cats, and they like cats. But I like dogs too, and I have cats as well. So, but yeah, I mean, animals are good. They provide love and attention, especially when 4 a.m. they start meowing or barking, and they want attention, and they come up on your neck and want to be a scarf,
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, animals are good. So.
Yeah. Okay. You satisfied? She looks at him. Okay, is there anything more you need to say before we close? We've got about a little over 3 minutes.
Well, as I said, I'm there to represent everyone. I'm there to represent, I plan on going in there, I plan on having an open door policy. Basically what that means is that yes, I am a Republican, and yes, I am running against an incumbent Democrat, but when I get in there, I'm there to represent everyone in the 5th District, not just Republicans. I'm there to represent Republicans, I'm there to represent Democrats, libertarians, constitutionalists like yourself, as well as Greens and working families. And I know that there are a variety of opinions in the 5th Congressional District. 5th Congressional District is fairly purple, but I'm there to represent everyone. I'm there to do it in a way where I can have an open door policy, listen to everyone, and listen to everyone empathetically. Not just listen just to wait for them to stop talking. I'm there to listen to them empathetically, look at them straight in the eye, be genuine, be truthful, and that's just what representing the people in the 5th Congressional District means to me, is in terms of listening, having an open door policy, and representing everyone.
That's good.
So.
Okay, who do you plan on voting for to be the next Speaker of the House? If you get it?
I like Mark Meadows and possibly Steve Scalise as well. But yeah, Mark Meadows is a good guy, and possibly Jim Jordan. I've kind of narrowed it down to some of them. But I think I actually met Jim Jordan one time. I went to Trump's inauguration or Trump's nominating convention back in Cleveland before he became president. And I met Jim Jordan. I think we were at a Hard Rock Cafe mixer or something like that. So yeah, but they're in Cleveland, and so he's a good guy. So
that's good. Are you looking forward to being on any of these hearings where they grandstand a lot?
Well, in terms of the hearings, I think that, yeah, it is a lot of grandstanding. It's a lot of kabuki theater, basically. And I think what we need to do is just get in there and get the job done. And without the grandstanding, without the making wild accusations about who's guilty and who's not when they haven't had due process, you know, I'm the type of person to get right to the point. And I think that's what we need to have more of in government. So.
Yeah, and how do you prove or disprove something that happened 36 years ago?
Exactly. I mean, they surprisingly found Anita Hill, I guess, from the Clarence Thomas hearings, and she was a liberal agitator back then as well, you know, and they did it at the 11th hour. There's so many similarities to the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill hearings, and then the Kavanaugh, like it's a Blasey Ford, I guess is what her name is, hearings, that it's like, history's repeating itself, so I don't think we need to have that. We need to learn from history. So, but I'll give people my website here in the last few minutes or a few seconds. My website is CallahanForOregon.com. That's CallahanForOregon.com. I have a Twitter handle. It's Callahan, the number 4 in the word Oregon, Callahan for the word 4 or the number 4 and then Oregon, Oregon. And my Facebook page is facebook.com/Callahan for Oregon, CallahanForOregon.
Okay, we're out of time. I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your views, and I wish you well in the election.
Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
I do plan to vote for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.